Hi everyone and welcome to your last lesson. We are just before half term, not last lesson ever. So today we are going to be learning about Roman mosaics, and then we are going to use our ICT skills, our computing skills, to make our own digital mosaic, which, trust me, is a lot easier than these Roman mosaics look like they would be to make. So first, let's have a look at some Roman mosaics. So, the floors of Roman buildings were often richly decorated with mosaics. Mosaics were made from tiny coloured stones which they called tesserae. So you can see here, this is a picture of, or a photograph of a mosaic, and you can see it's made kind of a picture by using these stones. Mosaics have been found that show scenes of history as well as everyday Roman life. So just as now we might do a painting to show a story or an illustration in a book, they used to do this with mosaics as well. So mosaics would go on the walls and on the floors to show a picture or just for decoration. Mosaic floors were a statement of how wealthy and important you were. Poor people would not be able to afford them. The bigger and more detailed the mosaic, the more impressive. The mosaic would decorate the floor of the main room. These were stuck to the floor with mortar, which is a type of cement. Each mosaic used thousands of pieces to make a pattern. So that's why you needed to be really wealthy to have a mosaic floor. It used thousands of pieces, and just think of how long those thousands of pieces would have taken to put in place. So you would have had to also pay someone to make them. The Greeks were the first to make mosaics. They started by using pebbles and then also began to use cut stone with pebbles. The Romans copied their method, but just used cut stone instead of pebbles. Villas and bathhouses had mosaic floors, and some office signs were even made of mosaics. So just think, you designed your bathhouse yesterday. Your bathhouse probably would have mosaic floors. So as you can see here, they have this rich pattern of different colours, and it looks a bit like a knot, which reminds me a bit of the art we did on the Celts. Temples and public areas usually have pattern floors made with the larger cut stone tiles, a method known as opus setile. So this opus setile method, which you see in temples and public areas with the bigger cut stone tiles, that's probably the sort of thing you would have seen or would still see in the Pantheon. I haven't actually been myself, but I would love to go. And it probably does have these really amazing mosaic floors, because remember, it was a very important temple because it was temple of the gods. That's what Pantheon literally translates as. So it would have been really richly decorated, and it still is, as we know from yesterday's video, really well preserved because it's continually being used. The Romans used a hammer and a hardie to cut the stones to approximately 8 to 12 millimetres. A hardie, on the left, so this one here, is like a chisel. This would be stuck into a block of wood. Some mosaics had pieces cut down to 1 to 2 millimetres. So those are really, really small pieces. If you have a look at your ruler at home, you can see 1 to 2 millimetres is really tiny. Those are our small marks in between our centimetres. For very intricate patterns, that means really detailed patterns. This is the Alexander mosaic that you can still see today in Pompeii, Italy. So in Pompeii is where a volcano erupted, which is very famous. The volcano was called Vesuvius, and if you are listening to my Paninis of Pompeii story, you will know that Vesuvius is actually the name of the wife of Caecilius, the main character in that. So that's a little bit of a joke inside that story. So Pompeii was actually had a volcano which erupted very close to it and wiped out a lot of the population of Pompeii and destroyed a lot of things there. But amazingly, this really, really intricate, really detailed mosaic has survived, which I think you'll agree doesn't really look like tiles at all. It looks more like a painting. and that's because it has these really small pieces that have been cut out, so 1 to 2 millimeters. Imagine the length of a meter stick, then a square meter. So a meter stick is one of those really long rulers you'll see me with sometimes in school, and if you turned that around so it made a square, that space within that would be a square meter. Just 1 square meter of mosaic on the floor might take 10,000 pieces of tesserae. So you can think again, remember where these rich people would have mosaics, or these buildings that were really expensive, because that is just so many tiny pieces of tiles that need to be intricately, really delicately placed in to make a picture. You don't see lots of bright colours in Roman mosaics. This is because they mainly use natural stones. The red, used particularly in Britain, was from cut brick or tiles. Occasionally, they might use bits of glass for a particular effect. You can probably imagine that a floor made from thousands of tiny stones would not be very comfortable to walk on, but this wasn't a problem when you had slaves to work hard for you. The slaves would have to use hard stones, sand and water to grind the stones down so that they were smooth enough to walk on. So remember, the stones were not used as commonly in Rome, they were more commonly used in Greece. Now we're going to have a look at a few examples of mosaics. So these are some really detailed, amazing mosaics that, as I mentioned before, look more like paintings than lots of little tiles. So this is one that's of a floor, and you can see it's got some like flowery, starry patterns, and that knot pattern, which I said reminded me of the Celts. And this has loads of different patterns in it, as well as some pictures. And you can see what we were talking about earlier about the colours, that they're normally more natural colours because they come from natural stones. When I've spoken about this at school with the children that are in school, they've said that why didn't the Romans just paint the tiles? Well, first of all, paint wouldn't stay on very long on something like a floor because you're standing on it all the time, but also paint was something that was incredibly expensive back then because they didn't have things like you couldn't go to the shop and buy some paint. You had to make paint, and to make paint you had to grind down things that were generally quite valuable. We might come back and learn about that a bit later on when we're doing some more art lessons, but paint was very expensive, and not readily available, so you couldn't pop to the shop like we can and buy some paint. You would have to have it made, and the materials for making it were very expensive, so that's why they used these tiles. So again, you can see there's loads of details in this one. It looks like it's telling a story, maybe something about a war or some gods. Right, now we're getting on to the work we need to do today. So we are going to be making some digital mosaics. So you might have seen today's lesson is called Art/ICT. Well, I mean, it's really Art/History/ICT, isn't it? But we are going to be learning about how to make mosaics on a computer or on an iPad. So you need to make sure you've got a computer or you've got an iPad with internet access. Hopefully you all do, because you are watching this video, so that should mean you do. You also need to have a photo on your computer. We can get this from Google Images, or you can use your own. Don't worry, I will explain how to do all of this in the next few slides. Right, so first step, you need to go onto your internet provider and search for mosaically.com. It will look like this when you get onto the right web page. That is the page you will see. If you want to pause the video between the steps, you're very welcome to do that. It might be quite helpful to do that so you can make sure that you are following along in the right order. Really good tip as well is you need to make sure you're pressing the pink buttons. So some people in school, when we did this, were finding it a bit confusing to find where to press, and generally you just need to press the pink button. Right, step 2. Click on Create My Photo Mosaic, click on Create New, and then click on choose photo. So like I said, pink button. Okay, when you click on that, it will give you a few different options. So one option is it depends if it's on your computer or on your iPad, but it'll say something like choose photo from file, choose photo from library or something like that. But first of all, we need to make sure we have a photo. So unless you have a photo that's from your family, you will need to ask your grown-ups if they can help you find something like that, if that's what you want to be the main background of your photo. So if you want it to be a picture of you and your family, that's absolutely fine. Just ask your family how you can find one of those photos and get it onto your laptop or iPad. Otherwise, if you want to just find something on Google Images, then I'm going to explain how to do that now. So what we need to do is we are picking a photo to be the main background of our mosaic, and it will all make sense if you carry on listening to me, and I've got some examples to show you what I mean. So you can carry on listening and then come back if that is helpful. So we are going to find out how to find an image from Google Images in the next slide. So to find a photo from Google, in a new window, type Google Images. So to get onto a new window, generally you have to click like a plus sign on your internet provider in the top right hand corner, and that'll open a new window. That means, so you're not getting rid of Mosaically.com, you're just opening another window where you can type in something else and keep that open at the same time. Then type in what picture you want. So maybe you think, I love dogs. I would really like to have a mosaic that looks like a dog. Or, I really miss going on holiday. I'm going to have a beautiful desert island or a beach or a jungle. Or this is my favourite emoji. I want my mosaic to look like an emoji. Then type in dogs, desert island, whatever you want your mosaic to look like. Then find an image you like and right click, then save the picture. This is what you need to find to save the picture. So make sure you're saving your picture under a name that is memorable, because you will need to find that picture again. So say you're saving a picture of a dog, just save it as dogs. And I'm going to explain this in a video because I understand that that's a lot of steps. So watch this next video to help you out.
Everyone, I'm just here to show you really quickly how to find an image for your mosaic on Google Images. So I've typed into my search bar Google Images, and that has brought me to this page here. And you can tell you're on the right page because it says Google and then little word underneath Images. Then I'm going to search for what image I would like to be my main image on my mosaic. So when you stand away from it, this will be the image you see. So I'm going to go really nice and basic and cute and go for a dog. Then I'm going to scroll down until I find a dog that I think, I'd love to have a mosaic of that dog. Right, I'm going to go for this one here. I'm going to right click it, and that will bring back all of this bar here. And I'm going to click Save Image As. Okay, I'm going to save it to my downloads because that's nice and easy to find. And I'm going to save it as dog. Okay, right, now that's saved. I'm going to come back to my mosaic.com, click on Choose Picture. My downloads, I'm going to scroll until I get to a dog. You can see I do a lot of downloading. There we are, dog. Choose for upload. Excellent. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to go down and we need to click on what we want the tiny little pictures that are going to make up our big picture to be. So I could choose dogs again. And you can play around with this until you get something you really like. So you could come back and see what it would look like with flowers on the background, with cats as the background, whatever you fancy. So you can see there, I've made my mosaic out of loads of little pictures, and it's still loading it, but if you zoom in, when it's loaded, you'll be able to see, can you see how many loads and loads of pictures of dogs there are just in this one mosaic that I've made? So you can play around and see how many pictures you can do this to and which one your favourite is. And it's a much quicker way of making a mosaic than they did in the Roman times. And also it doesn't require us to chop lots of things up, which is quite nice. So I hope you really enjoy this lesson. I'm looking forward to seeing some of your mosaics. I'll put it up on the assignment so you can have a look. So I can have a look at them, and I will share some of the best ones after half term. I hope you have a lovely half term. This has been your last full lesson. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that this is really fun, because I've quite enjoyed learning how to do this.
Right, so I hope that video was helpful. As I said, you can always go back through the video and watch little bits again. Right, so here are my examples. So you can see this is the one that I showed you in the video. It's a dog photo that I've got off Google Images, and then I've filled the background with loads of little photos of dogs as well. This is another example.
So some of you might recognise this example. I'll tell you what it is in just a second, but at the moment I'm just going to let you guess, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see what the other pictures are. So what do you think the theme of these pictures might be? So what do you think that this picture might be? What do you think? It is actually a picture of 4K when they made their massively long chain out of paper for Christmas.
So that's a photo I had on my computer. So just like I said, if you want to use a personal photograph, just ask your grown-ups if they can help you do that. If they're a bit busy, then don't worry, just go for the Google image option, and maybe you can come back to it later and do a personal photo one later. It doesn't take very long to make these. So this is a photo of 4K, and I had it on my computer, but the other photos are all from Mosaically. So if you zoomed in on this, like I did in that little video, they are all love themed. So I clicked on the love one, and it gave me loads of pictures to make up this big mosaic of 4K. And our final one, who do you think this is a photo of?
And this one here we have, which is still making its way into being fully made, is a picture of me with loads of little pictures of cats, which, as I'm sure you might have noticed, that's kind of my ideal kind of picture of me, just me and loads of cats. So I really hope you enjoy making your own, and I can't wait to see them.
Okay, so if you can please upload your favourite digital mosaic to the assignment, I really can't wait to see them. I think we're going to get some really lovely ones. And if you want, you can also have a go at the attached mosaic colouring sheets, but that is completely optional, just if you want to do a little bit extra, maybe calm down at the end of a very long home half term that you've managed to do amazingly well at. I'm so proud of all of you. So well done, and go on and have an amazing half-term break.